Well, hello, how are we doing today? My name is David. This is my very first time doing this. Um, and for a long time, it's really been impressed upon me, I want to say, and without getting too religious, it's really been impressed upon my heart, I want to say by the Lord, really, to finally say something. I've been watching both campaigns, if you will. I've been watching the Black Lives Matter campaign. I've been watching the police via the news. I've been watching even the parties who have been completely neutral. I've been watching the parties who are pro-police or the sympathizers for law enforcement officials. Even when the police do something that is, you know, beyond reasonably doubt, questionable. And I've been watching them to see what they have to say when the police do something that is really questionable. Like, oh my Lord, wow, that was a bit too far. I've been watching to see what they have had to say, and I've been watching their silence. So we have many different camps, all these different factions, if you will, scattered across the landscape here of America in these modern times, when there are so many other nations of people who want to exterminate or hurt or harm all Americans, despite whatever color we have, whether our skin is brown and beautiful or white, whatever that means. I'm not black. The white person isn't white. I'm no more black than the white person is white. But we are so divided by color here in this nation. It's ridiculous. But all these other nations of people have something against Americans. And they don't care what color of Americans they hurt. They don't care what color of Americans they harm. And here we are, slowly taking the bait. We bite onto it. So many of you out there, and even I myself can be guilty of it. So many of us take the bait. Mainstream media outlets are constantly pushing this agenda to constantly drive a wedge to keep the chasm, of differences between, I guess, the two reigning communities here in America, between the blacks and the whites, like the age-old struggle. It's foolishness. It's absolutely foolishness. So I came on here today to say that violence begets violence. I've been watching, all these police shootings, all these law enforcement officials who've been slain, if you will, in the line of duty, which is a sad thing because they had families, I would imagine. I don't know if these officers were good people. I don't know if they were bullies in their own communities or bullies towards particular communities of people. But if they had families, that's pretty sad. I know that there's a lot of quote unquote thug black people and, kind of like ratchet black people, hood black people who just, want to just, live up to the glamification of the ghetto chic lifestyle, as so eloquently put by Paul Joseph Watson. Yes, I follow you, Paul, and yes, all of you viewers out there, I do listen to alternative means of media, if you will, just to give me a little bit more perspective about the country and times in which we all live in here in this great nation we call America. And I watch Phil from The Advice Show too. Both parties have been very influential in shaping a lot of perspectives that I may or may not have concerning many of the modern day plights or political plights that's affecting all of us, all Americans, even Americans who believe that they are better than everyone else because of whatever their current station is in life. But I digress. So moving forward here, I think, going back to what I was saying, violence does beget violence. Okay? There's officers who were slain. While I do feel bad for them, what's really important here is what's happening is what someone has been wanting to happen. Now, I was a little apprehensive about saying that, as you could see. But I passionately believe, from my perspective, my point of view, that this has been something that has been in the makings for decades, for a very, very long time. Let's everything always starts. Every story has a beginning, and every story starts from something way, 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 way long time ago that has brought us to where we are now, into this story, in this part of the story. So I can hear the eyes roll whenever someone brings up transatlantic slavery. You can hear the eyes rolling. People are very, very sympathetic, okay, and they begin to show a lot of empathy when the Jewish people or the Jewish community talks about their plight and what they went through, through World War II. And we all know the story there, so I won't kick a dead horse. But you can almost hear the eyes rolling whenever anyone speaks about transatlantic slavery. This won't be a video railing against, the white man or whatever that is all about. This is not that, but I'm stating all this information to you now just to let you all know that everything starts from somewhere. So here it is now. Slavery was going on in America. There was a group of people, and you can look this up for yourself. Don't ever take my word for something or anything someone tells you. It's always good for you to begin to do your own research to find out, okay, is this accurate information that this person is giving me? Okay? This is all critical thinking skills, and I'm sure I have many college students here, or people who are just adept at being keen and aware, or have such a high level of acumen, they can sit back and observe and ascertain, okay, is this information viable? Is it tangible? Is it good? Are these facts good, or is this just false information? But there was a group of people who were called the Slave Patrol, and I won't go into great detail about them. But once slavery was over, the Slave Patrol just basically and seamlessly graduated into law enforcement. Now, these people, these ugly, 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 monstrous people whose whole sole purpose in life was to track, hunt down, capture, hurt, torture, and murder another group of people simply because their skin tone is darker than theirs. So that's a good enough reason to want to murder somebody. Because my skin is white, I've been told that I'm white, and I've been told that that person is black. I have no idea who came up with this foolishness. Again, I am no more black than someone is white. Okay? When I see a white person, I don't immediately think of a sheet of paper. Okay? Or when I see a quote unquote black person, I don't immediately think some black electrical tape. Or I don't think about a tire. I'm no more white than they are black. There's different shades of people here. Okay? And things like this, mainstream media constantly forces and pushes and perpetuates so that it continues to drive the wedge and keep the wedge there, a giant chasm between both communities of people. Have you ever stopped to think why mainstream media is so fervently passionate about constantly showing negative imagery about black people and how white officers are hurting them? Have you ever stopped to think to yourself, why doesn't mainstream media show positive imagery about black people doing positive things, doing constructive things? Why doesn't the media show more and more positive imagery of law enforcement officials actually doing positive and constructive things? Not everybody's the same thing, but the media tells its viewers they are. Okay, I don't wish to seek violence, okay, against any white person because they're white and all this other nonsense. It just isn't constructive. So, what I'm going on to say here now is that this is just bait. And so many of you, some of the viewers here, have latched onto it, have chomped down on it. Okay, this is what the powers that be, and yes, I said that, as vague as that sounds, this is what they want to happen. They want there to be riots in the street. They want there to be more officer-involved slayings where officers are shot and murdered. This is a part of a plan. Have you ever stopped to think, whenever you get a chance, YouTube audience, you beautiful, intelligent people, and I thank you for supporting me, supporting this video. This is my first one that I've ever made. Whenever you get a chance, why don't you go ahead and look up on your own time martial law? And that is a real thing. Okay? They, again, meaning the powers that be, need a catalyst. They need something to happen in order for them to cause, again, going back to cause and effect, them to implement martial law. They need that to happen. So what is it that they can do? What could they do? What group of people, or which group of people, could they use to implement this? How can we, because we want to put a stranglehold on the throat of America, we want to be a policing body who operates with pure impunity and no oversight to hurt and harm whoever we deem necessary or whoever we want. So how are we going to go ahead and get this done? So let's go back now to what I was saying earlier. Slave Patrol. Slave Patrol graduated and just mainstream right on into law enforcement. And then the offspring of those monsters followed in the footsteps of their parents. And those people became law enforcement officials. The people who were KKK, who are alive and kicking still today, they may not operate in the same capacity in which they did how many generations ago, but they're still around, I can assure you. But this is where we are now. You have the Slave Patrol who became police officers, and then the enmity began. The discord, the distrust began. So after years and years of black people being beat and lynched, and I know, hold on, don't roll your eyes, just give me a moment, of being beat and lynched, and I'm not going to sit here and proclaim that black people are innocent and they're just harmless butterflies, and like I said to you earlier, they're black people who want nothing more but to be ratchet, violent, and ghetto. They live their life that way. They don't want to live any other way but to be ratchet. They don't want to be nice, upstanding, respectful, beautiful human beings. They don't. They want to be ratchet, for lack of a better word. They don't want to be civilized human beings. They just want to be very violent and ghetto. They love it. If that is not in their life, something is wrong with them. But the Slave Patrol, law enforcement, enmity, this big driving wedge between law enforcement and the black community. Now, instead of people seeing and revering and respecting law enforcement officials and having their mind, okay, when I see a cop, oh, okay, it's a law enforcement official. Thank God for that person. He's here to keep our community safe. and sound. He exercises law and order, or she exercises law and order to keep us all safe. Now there's fear in the hearts of black people. You may not even be committing a crime. You may have come from a time in your life where you were a criminal, if you will, and now you don't live that lifestyle. You don't have that mentality anymore. I heard Malcolm X in one of his videos, God rest his soul, where he said the real tragedy, when he was speaking to a group of people, I think maybe in Alabama, and he was saying how the media, even at that time, was trying to throw shade on him and discredit him and make him appear bad and ill and evil and as some sort of shady character in the eyes of his listeners, by digging up his past and showing what kind of person he was, past tense, in order to discredit him now or at that present time. And he said, you know what the real trauma is? The tragedy would be, the real tragedy here would be if I continued to live in that lifestyle and I didn't change my ways, if I didn't move forward, if I didn't advance, if I continued to live a life of crime and I never cultivated or adhered to any wise words. That would have been the real tragedy. I heard Mary J. Blige said that she was never ashamed in Work That. Mary J. Blige, amazing artist. I love the song Work That. I heard her say that she was never ashamed of what life did to her, because she knew everything was good for her. I respect those people. Okay, I do. I respect those people. So, what I will say here is this. That this is what they want us to do. They want us to fight law enforcement. They want us to be against law enforcement. They want more slayings of officers. They want there to be a quote-unquote, a civil war between black people and law enforcement, or black people and white people. Don't do it. That's not the way to go. That's not the way to do things. Violence begets violence. Going out and killing white people is not the right thing to do. And I'm sure I'm not alone in this speech. I'm sure there are white people. There's a white guy somewhere right now in America sitting down in his home thinking this to himself, that me going out and killing black people is not going to make any difference. It's not going to help anything. How does that advance us? How does that move us forward? What does that do? Killing people, what does that do? Just causing more tragedy, more heartache. Just ripping more people from their families, hurting other people. Violence begets violence. Black Lives Matter, I'm not in support of that. Yes, I do believe all lives matter. Yes, I am aware that there are a lot of, officers out there who just want to hurt black people. Just because. Just because. But I'm not a part of this. I'm not a part of Black Lives Matter. I'm not a pro-police person. I'm just a guy. And I don't want to see any war or any type of anything spin off inside of the place I live. This is the land that I live in. I know some people don't want to believe that. They don't want to accept it. They don't want to see me as a human being. They don't want to see me as a man. They don't want to see any of that things. I'm 3/5 of a man according to them. I'm all these negative things. I'm all these racial slurs according to them. But I don't let any of that get to me. I'm not who people say I am. So, the point here, and I'm going to wrap this up. I didn't know this video was going to take so long. But, don't take the bait. Don't give in to it. There is a better way for our voices to be heard. Mainstream media does not want to give the many, many, many different voices of reason, such as a voice of reason as myself, and I'm not proclaiming or declaring myself to be a big time anything. Again, I'm just a guy. I'm an American. I'm not a black American. I'm not an African American. I'm just an American. I live here. There is no color before white people. They're only called American. And if they can be labeled as an American, I can be labeled as an American too. There's always Black American or African American right before our title. I'm just an American. I'm not pro-police. I'm not pro-Black Lives Matter. I think the voices of reason who have been saying, let us come down and sit down and reason together, coming from the Bible, coming from the Word of God, the mainstream media doesn't want to give those voices any volume so that they can be heard. But it's just a matter of time before those voices do begin to get heard, and many people begin to tune in and listen to what they have to say. Okay? So I wish you all the best, YouTube audience. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and God bless you all.